Welcome to the Onward Opinion channel here on YouTube. I had a very unusual experience for my neighborhood, at least, yesterday when I went to the supermarket, the public supermarket. As I walked in the store and got my shopping cart, this heavy-set woman came up with the cart and got right in my face, and she had no mask on. I, of course, was wearing a mask, as I always do, and I kind of put my hand up to get her out of my face. And then she went on to say, well, I don't wear a mask anymore. And it was a very nasty attitude. So, of course, I retorted, that's not very smart given the number of daily cases in DeKalb County. New cases are over 200. And she says, and I voted for Trump too. And I said to her, that really wasn't smart. I laughed. I just started laughing. And then she said, look at you, and look at me. And I said, what are you trying to say? And I started rolling laugh. Look at you. And of course she was pointing out the fact that I was African American and she was white, and it was obvious. So I said, yeah, I know I'm better looking than you are, but what are you trying to say? And I just walked away and just rolled laughing. I mean, it was really ridiculous. The woman was ugly. So ugly, she was oogly. And I just walked away. But it just reminded me of how open and overt racism has come back in style among certain elements of white America. Oh, and she also bragged about, well, I'm a teacher. And I sarcastically had said to her, well, I'm impressed. And just walked on away from her. But this is something that's really going on right now, open racism. And today there was an article in the Washington Post, and it said new critical race theory laws have teachers scared, confused, self-censoring. A Utah student group was called Black and Proud. The principal had it renamed. A New Hampshire history teacher used to discuss current events in a unit about race and economics. No more. And Florida school officials have canceled a lecture for teachers on the history of the civil rights movement, while they considered whether it would violate state rules. In 13 states, new laws or directives govern how race can be taught in schools. In some cases, creating reporting systems for complaint. The result, teachers and principals say, is a climate of fear on how to comply with the rules they often do not understand. And this is the point. You have people like DeSantis in Florida, Abbott in Texas, spreading lies, blatant lies, in an attempt to further their racist agenda. They talk about critical race theory and know nothing about what it's about. At the end of this video, I will have a link to a complete explanation of what critical race theory is. These people are trying to unite these people like DeSantis in Florida and the anti-critical race theory people who don't know what they're against are trying to unite racists under a new banner as part of the second implementation of Jim Crow laws. And do not misunderstand, these are Jim Crow laws. What they're really trying to ban is the teaching of Black or African American history in the United States. They emphasize they don't want white kids to be uncomfortable learning about what white people did in the past. Not what these kids are doing now, but what white people did in the past. And that shows you their ill intent. So, this is where we are in 2022. We're back where we were in 1877, 78, 79, 80, up until the 1960s, late 1960s, when things began to change with the introduction of Black Studies and African American Studies courses, which introduced for the first time in America the narratives of people of color into the educational system. Now understand, critical race theory is not taught in any public school anywhere in the country. It's way too advanced. It's a theory and approach that comes out of the law. The writings of people like Derek Bell in Principle. He was really the person who organized the system of thought back in the 1980s. The term critical race theory was coined by Professor Crenshaw, a student of his, a decade later, in the 90s. But the work was already written and done before. And it's also very closely related to the Black Studies program, the African American Studies programs. People like John Henry Clark and Dr. Ben Cannon and Ivan von Sertima, who I studied back in the 1970s. C.L.R. James, Eric Williams, there's tons of people that were working in this area, Carl Woodson. The idea behind their thinking is to suppress Black expression, the teaching of our history, our rights to vote and participate in this democracy. It is to diminish us in any way they can. And we, as African Americans, our Latino first cousins, our Indigenous American first cousins, our Asian first cousins, we must fight this repressive behavior. And some of you who question me mentioning Asians, read about the Chinese Exclusion Act of the 1880s. The theft of half of Mexico from Texas to California in the 1830s, then in 1844 to 1846, the Mexican-American Cession, which was really the American theft of half of Mexico. These things are all part of a singular pattern. Colonialism justified by racism. And I don't want to throw too many ideas at one time. I think I did that in my last video. So I want to wrap up and sum up what I'm talking about. These critiques, these attacks on critical race theory are just a buzzword attack to suppress the teaching of black history. That's all it is. It's really quite simple. The people talking about it don't even know what it is. They really don't understand it. There are no schools, public schools, where grade school kids are going that are learning critical race theory. It's a lie, and it's an intentional lie to scare poor, uneducated white people. It's a way of dividing and conquering of working people. Okay, as I always say, resistance is not futile. It comes from Star Trek. It comes from Picard, who is the captain of the Enterprise in the Next Generation, who is fighting the Borg, the greatest enemy in the history of the Star Trek universe. And I raise my right hand. Resistance is not futile. We have to fight these people. They're trying to reinstitute Jim Crow. So we have to fight, and if we fight, we can and will win. So get in the fight. I don't care how young you are or how old you are. Get in the fight. And fundamentally, educate yourself. Read. The materials are out there. They're banning books, but the literature is still there. Read it. Hit the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to my channel if you like more content like this. And I will see you in the next video. Have a great day and a better tomorrow.